Okay, before we start, for those who don't know anything about the British Film Designers Guild, the Guild was formed over 70 years ago with the aim of raising the standards and profile of the art department and protecting the interests of its members. Those core principles still apply today as we're a flourishing and evolving community of over 520 accredited skilled technicians and designers whose talents span the various branches of the art department in film and television. And this evening we're chatting to the 4 winners of the Spotlighting New Talent Award from our last 4 years of awards. So we've got with us Alina Papp, Heather Noble, Anne Clemens and Helen Yates. The award is specifically for junior members of the Guild who've made an outstanding contribution to the art department. So firstly, I'll start with Alina. Can you remember what first inspired you to pursue a career in the art department?
I actually wanted to be a director when I started off, and I was in my 30s when I realized that that path was too much about the future and not so much about the present. So there was one night when I was doing these graffiti stencils, and I just had a thought of, there must be someone who would appreciate the fact that I can be cutting out little plastic bits for 10 hours and enjoy it. And I thought maybe props. And I managed to have a chat with Neil Lamont, who looked at my graffiti paintings and suggested to move into art, to learn how to art direct. And so I did the FDI course at Pinewood with Terry Eklund Snow. And that was the first time I ever did a technical drawing. So I was very green, very late. But when I did the course, I remember making a salad and I was cutting my cucumbers in exact 5mm bits. And I thought, how did this never happen before? Like, how did the art department of the whole world never come by before? Because it was so fitting. So that's how I started.
Heather, same question for you. What inspired you to pursue a career in the art department?
Well, I was much the same as Alina. I went here, there and everywhere before I found the art department. When I was at school, I was good at maths, physics and art. So I chose a degree that was an applied and creative science. Could have gone for architecture. I actually went for engineering. And I barreled out at the end of my master's still wanting a career that was in equal parts creative and technical. But I really didn't know how to find that. And I joined the film industry, actually working for the studios, working for Shepperton Studios. Then I jumped into the production office as a production coordinator, did a bit in special effects, did a bit in the ADs. And eventually I found the art department by circumstance more than anything. I was hired onto Alan Cameron's job, Fred Claus. It was wonderful. And I really felt as though I'd found my home. But I remained a coordinator for many years and have only in the last 5 years or so set my sights on supervising art director as the end point. And so to get there, I had to jump across to move up. So now I'm climbing the drafting ladder, one rung at a time.
And was that a difficult jump for you to make when you stopped, when you decided, right, I'm not going to be a coordinator anymore and I want to pursue drawing? I mean, was that a difficult transition? Or
it was daunting jump to make, but actually it went much quicker and much smoother than I expected it to. And not to plug, but I have the Guild to thank for that in large part, because I started drawing in 2008. Sue Whitaker stuck me in front of a drawing board and got me to do a detail on Prince of Persia. And she's been a mentor to me ever since. She's been the wind at my back, pushing me forward. She's incredible and a very generous woman. But from doing that detail, I think I ended up doing 3 or 4 on that job. And then every job after that, I made sure I did at least 1 or 2 details in my own time after hours. But that meant that when I finally made the decision to push to do the jump, I had a reasonably full portfolio. That was 2015. I did a couple of half and half jobs, which eased me into it. And then it was Neil Lamont that gave me my first full-time drafting position. And the reason he gave me that is because he saw my folio as a Guild portfolio surgery, and was very complimentary about it, which took me completely by surprise. I mean, he's such a big name in the industry. And he put me in front of Al Bullock, and Al Bullock hired me on to solo. So my first full-time drafting job was a Star Wars movie, which was incredible and terrifying in equal measure, really.
So Helen, same question for you. What inspired you to join the art department?
I think, again, it's like a lot of people sort of found it by accident almost. I started off wanting to work in animation, mostly like puppet making, fabrication. I did animation at university, did work experience and bits of work with Aardman. And then I think work started running dry a bit, and I thought about trying to apply for the, I think it's called Screen Skills now, but back then it was called the Skill Set Acad Trainee Scheme. So you go for an interview and you get put on a database that productions can look at and hire you for cheap, basically, because Screen Skills cover part of your salary. And that's kind of how you get onto productions. And that scheme kind of opened up the art department to me, because the animation section wasn't quite up and running for them yet. It was in its infancy, and they said, well, you've got enough transferable skills, why don't you try art department? And that was it, really. Never looked back. I got my first long-term job with Liz Griffiths on Spooks the Greater Good way back when. And just kind of haven't stopped since then, and I've been very lucky. And started off in set deck mostly, and then gradually moved to art department. And it was when I went to the art department, I quite liked the idea of drafting, and then ended up doing set deck drafting for a lot of the time, before then eventually getting into art department drafting. So it was kind of like a back and forth kind of process, but no one seems to go through the same process. Everyone's got their own stories. So yeah, that's kind of how I found myself in it.
Are you aiming at set deck drafting or art department drafting at the moment?
I like to do both. I initially started off with a lot of set deck drafting, but then really wanted to balance out my portfolio, because I realised that set deck drafting jobs aren't always around. So I wanted to balance out my portfolio, but if I could choose every time, it would be set deck drafting, I think.
Okay. And Anne, I think I know something about your first job, which was on Pennyworth.
Yeah.
But what made you decide to want to be in the art department?
Well, I mean, I always loved films and books and everything, and I grew up in Germany, so film industry exists there, but it's not a big deal. So I don't know, I quite like watching a lot of making offs of the films. Sometimes I enjoy that more. I get more excited about those than watching the actual films. And I remember when I was a child, I was a big Harry Potter fan. I've seen the making of Harry Potter, and I remember seeing Stuart Craig standing in front of Hogwarts Castle, and me being 10 years old watching that on TV, thinking, oh my God, this is an actual job you can have, like making the scenes and the sets and producing the backgrounds for the films that I like to watch. So that was actually the first time I realized this is a job within film. And as I said, the film industry in Germany is quite limited. So I studied interior architecture to get technical knowledge, and also just to have a degree in the bank. And during that, I got to do a semester abroad, and got a lot of support from my family to go to LA and have a look if that's actually what I want to do, if that's actually something, and if I can do it. And it just got me hooked, and I graduated in Germany. Then I found Terry's course as well in Pinewood and did that, and I just got a lot of experience there, and to actually see what it actually takes and what it is like, especially in different countries as well. I didn't know what a portfolio was and everything, so I'm glad I came here. I'm glad I found this, and I'm glad so many people just opened up and were helpful. and you just have to be receptive and just take everything. And then yeah, I remember I applied for several things, trying and hoping, and eventually someone hired me. So yeah, this is how I found my way in here. No, don't regret it.
Yeah, so I remember the your portfolio that you'd had custom made with a
nice
leather one.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And so Anne, I'll just stick with you for a moment. What made you join the guild?
Okay, so whilst I was doing Terry's course, there were always like younger people like us, and there was one day when some of them were actually attending the portfolio surgery at Pinewood, and I didn't know what that was, so I've asked them, and I saw Matt's there, and she explained and was really helpful, and I just asked everyone what's happening here and how can you be part of this. And I remember Matt's telling me you have to build up a portfolio for this and you can join, and she gave me the information and everything. And it was just a great opportunity, even though I wasn't a member there yet, just to be there, meet the people and just get contacts, get in touch with people. And because a lot of people, or actually almost everyone who was there at the surgery, just spoke very well of it, I thought this is just the best you can do to just get your name out there, get feedback, get information, and just see how the whole process works. Because it's like free interview training basically that you get at the portfolio surgery. And I've met so many people through the guild and through the events. If you just come along, people are friendly, and even you may have heard some names, but you actually see the face, and it's just a nicer environment basically than an actual interview. So for me, making me join the guild was the portfolio surgery and the events that are happening. So.
Yeah, I think one of the things that the guild needs to do, and it's part of the reason I think why we started doing these whole series of webinars, is to talk about what we actually do as a guild and what the benefits are. Because you know, the opinions you hear from non-members sometimes, or about what they think we do and about, you know, is different.
Yeah, you have to experience it.
You have to, yeah, I think you have to find out a little bit yourself. So Alina, what made you want to join the guild?
It was pretty much the same story as what Anne said. I was at the FDI, and Gary Tompkins came over and gave us some tips on our drawings. And I think because I used to be an AD as well for 8 years, actually. Back on Heather, I was the second AD. And I think in production, you don't experience that type of camaraderie that you do in the art department. I felt I've been in the art department, the people are very eager to help out even when they're busy, to explain. And I think the BFDG, that feeling came across even before I started working in the industry, that there was a sense of apprenticeship. There was a sense of, if you work, you know, if you show enthusiasm and you are willing to put in the work, then there is a place where you can be guided into moving forward. And so when I was in the course, that was exactly when the voting happened of becoming an affiliated member. So I managed to get on in that month. So I was very, and I've been a member since.
Fantastic. Yeah. I joined because of Gary as well, quite a while ago.
Well done, Gary.
Yeah, he told me all about the guild, and then you know, I couldn't believe I could join it. And he said, "Oh yeah, you can apply." I think at that time you had to, you know, it was a fairly rigorous process of being proposed and seconded and stuff. But it was still very welcoming, you know, even in those sort of slightly early days. So Heather, why did you want to join the guild?
I can't remember. I think I was probably press ganged into it, but it was quite a different beast when I joined, and it's changed quite a lot over the last few years.
Yeah.
I was ambivalent about it when I first joined, but like I say, it's been instrumental in my jump from coordinating to drafting, not just the portfolio surgery, but also the awards themselves, you know, effectively told a room full of people that I'm a draftsman. It was that kind of convincing people to see me differently that was the hurdle. And of course, in the nomination process, your work gets sent out to the membership. So that was, you know, a great boost. And networking as well. I could present myself to people afresh as I'm a draftsman, and that was really great. So I've been getting a lot from it as well over lockdown with all these webinars and podcasts, and it's turned out to be a real boom.
Yeah, I think it you know, it is a major benefit, particularly for people who are looking to join the art department, to come along to portfolio night and meet so many people in one place.
Yeah.
That you know, when I was starting out, I had to phone people up that didn't know me, and it's always very difficult. And you do them one at a time, and they're generally in between jobs, or you know, so it's to be able to have that. You know, if I'd had that, that would have been fantastic to be able to join something and go and meet all the people who are working in the industry. So Helen, what made you join the guild?
Very similar stories to everyone else, really, except I was encouraged by Darren Tubby, who I believe has been with you for a while. When I was on Tina Jones's team in Pinewood, I think there was a portfolio surgery happening that week, and I think he got me signed up very quickly and sort of went in, and I found it a really big confidence booster more than anything else. Getting feedback like almost instantaneously, anything from the work you have presented to like your posture, how you're communicating, you know, and getting tips on how contacting people, because it's so easy to cross. It can be so easy to cross that line between pestering or talking a bit too much or what have you. And it's just nice to talk to people that do take those phone calls a lot and sort of get the ropes of how to approach people, basically, which not everyone doesn't do in sort of normal everyday jobs, sort of networky jobs. And I think that's, you know, it's a valuable lesson to learn as much as the portfolio structure. Yeah.
Alina, how has winning the award and being a member of the guild helped you progress? Where are you now in your career?
I'm currently, I'm aiming to be more set as a drafts person, but in the last 2 years I was predominantly second unit standby art director. So I'm like, I'm mixing the two up, but I would like to just really ground myself in drafting and have that really settled. I think winning the award, it meant a lot, because I think given that I started quite late, I always felt like I was behind, or that I often felt that, you know, most people I worked with were 10 years younger than me, or people that were my bosses were younger than me, and they were a lot more, they had like 5 years of architecture studies behind them. And so it allowed me to just say, no, I'm in a good place, and I just need to move. Like, I have my own path, and that path has other benefits somewhere else, but that I can just keep going forward. I think that's what helped a lot.
Brilliant. And Heather, I mean, you've talked a little bit about it already, but did you find that it was helpful winning the award, and where are you now in your career?
Well, I'm working as an assistant art director these days, and in terms of the award, it was the nomination that really made a difference to me. The award was the cherry on top, but the nomination came at just the right moment, because like Alina, I'd done my first 2 full-time drafting jobs, but I come out of the back end of both of them, and I think we all do this, not quite sure how it had gone, you know, and then it was approaching Christmas, work dried up, I was sitting at home starting to think, I've made a mistake, I should have stuck with coordinating, I was, you know, safe in that territory, and getting quite low. And then suddenly, you know, I was getting texts saying you've been nominated for a newcomer award, which I found hilarious because I'd been in the industry 16 years by then. So I'm really grateful that the committee allowed my nomination to stand because it made a big difference. It got me up, back on my feet, gave me the reassurance to push forward. And so by the time the awards came around, I was back to work as my first job as an assistant art director, had my own set. I was learning hand over fist every day, feeling buoyant and driven. And, you know, the award was, like I say, the cherry on top.
Fantastic. And Anne, how have you found the experience of winning the award, and how do you think it's helped you, and where are you now?
Well, I'm obviously still a junior draftsperson because I just got upgraded, like not just, but actually when I was nominated, I just got the upgrade. So as I won very recent, that's why I'm still at the same position and on the same job actually. But I feel like winning and like Heather was saying, actually just getting nominated, it pushed my ambition. And I feel like even though it's always worth going the extra mile, it's nice that people actually recognize you and what effort you're putting in. And I feel like through the award, I've been recognized even a bit more. And through that whole process, I have met so many people, especially at the awards, because you're standing, you're talking in front of people, someone is coming to you who you know, but you feel like, how do they know who I am? And they just talk to you, and that just makes it easier. You just get to talk to people. It just like the contact and everything. You have to be open for it, but it just helped me. It pushed me, and I'm just willing to even more keep going. And because you know you're recognized by someone saw you working, which is always helpful.
And Helen, you've talked about drafting in set deck and in the art department, and did you find it was a good confidence booster to win the award and or to be nominated for the award?
Absolutely, because a lot I didn't do FDI. I just learned entirely on the job because I didn't have the resources to go on any more courses after doing my degree. So I just you know, like everyone does, they ask, you know, art directors, assistant art directors for drawings and just kind of learn. So I've kind of treated my assistant years, and, you know, now I'm a junior, I sort of treat them like one long, really good apprenticeship. And that award really gave me a big boost, you know, to kind of keep going. Because there's always that worry when you haven't had any sort of like formal training, like, are you doing it properly? And then you get something like that along with, you know, upgrade to junior draftsperson, and you think, oh, okay, maybe I'm doing all right. But yeah, it was a really big boost. Brilliant.
Okay, and Helen, where do you see yourself in 10 years' time? What's the goal for you?
I think eventual goal would be set deck art director. That would be like the ultimate, well, because I just love the manufacturing process that props go through and how you have to oversee that, and you get to liaise with all the different departments, especially fun when you get to work with special effects when things blow up and stuff collapse and stuff like that. Yeah, that would be the ultimate goal for me, I think, in 10 years' time.
Brilliant. And Alina, what's your career goal at the moment? Where do you see yourself in 10 years?
Yeah, I think in 10 years I would like to be a grounded, settled art director who, in between big jobs, does pet design projects that are so exciting that they turn out to be the next pop fiction.
Good plan. So Heather, you've said that your goal is supervising art director.
Yeah.
Is that where you see yourself in a few years' time?
Yeah, I don't know whether it'll be in 10 years' time or a bit longer, but there's plenty to learn on the way. But that's where I'm heading. I'm more of a make it happen girl than a think it up girl. So supervising art director, I think, suits my skill set better than designing. And I really like the look of the job.
And Anne, where do you see yourself in 10 years?
Well, I hope that I will get as much experience as possible to be a good art director within the next 10 years. At some point further down the line, I would love to be a designer maybe one day, but until then I'm obviously happy to just enjoy the step-by-step to become an art director maybe. So I just want to be able to maybe be an inspiration to someone as well, someone seeing you thinking, because of you I wanted to be in the art department or something like that, being helpful to someone, being experienced enough to teach someone something as well.
Anne, is there anyone who's particularly influenced you since you started?
Well, especially in the art department, because since Stuart Craig was the reason I wanted to do this, I'm more than happy, more than lucky, then I'm actually currently working with him because he's just legend. But since I've actually met Neil Lamont, I feel like he's a big inspiration. He's influenced me a lot because there's an energy and a passion around people like him or Stuart, which I think is just impossible to ignore. And you just I just get excited in a good way and influenced by that energy to challenge myself and to push myself and learn and soak up as much as I can. And you just feel like you need to prove yourself, which is good, as it keeps you going into the right direction. And Neil, who's influencing me, he's someone who encourages you a lot, which is, in my opinion, the best thing to do, especially for someone who's just starting out. You just feel seen by him, and he wants you to get good experience out of the job. And to be fair, most of the people I was lucky enough to work with have been very encouraging and supporting, and I feel very lucky. But it's just, if you work hard and you really want this, there is a way, and there is you just have to have a goal. And I just feel like Neil, he just opens this up. If you're willing to prove yourself, you have to just take it. So I don't know, he gave me an upgrade, like was it Alina or Heather who was just saying it at the portfolio surgery? He just looked through my stuff and he was just, yes, keep going. And it's just, he's a big influence for me, so I would say him.
Yes, Stuart Craig came into, when I was at college, he came in and talked to us about Memphis Belle. And I remember being, quite impressed by him when he came in, and then got my first job with him. And it was a great introduction to the whole industry.
It's just unbelievable.
So Alina, who do you who's been an influence in your career so far?
Well, obviously, the reason I am in the art department is because of Neil Lamont, but I actually never had a chance to work with him. So that's hopefully to come. But I think for me, it's always the art director I work with. I really love getting into people's heads. So I think whenever I work on something, whoever I work for, they become the most influence at that time. And I try to mimic or grasp what their drafting is about or what they're doing. So for example, when I did my work experience on Hercules, for hand drafting, it was Tom Still and Robert Cowper. Amazing. They are the inspiration I will never reach, but it's good to hold up hand because they're just so quick and they draw really beautifully. But when I was a standby on Inferno, Peter Wenham was the designer, and for example, he had because he used to stand by before, we would start every new set with him and I walking around the set, and then he would always tell me what he finds important, and then I could essentially be his brain on set, and that was really helpful. I thought that was really common, and I noticed that actually it's not always that common. Sometimes designers aren't necessarily that hands-on when you're standing by for them, but he was definitely mentoring me in that time. And then people like Frank Walsh and Ben Collins and Phil Sims, the way they are supervising art directors, I just love their style of leadership. And so depending on what I want to learn, I think, you know, just learning how to be a calm, nice, empathetic leader who inspires, it's a tough one, but they're definitely inspiring in that sense. And then whenever you see any, like I worked on Blade Runner, so obviously anyone working on that job was a huge inspiration. There's a lot of people.
Yeah. Helen, who have your influences been? So
I guess the two first HDs I worked on my first big film, so to speak, was Gemma Jackson and Tina Jones. They were the production designer and set decorator on that job. And Gemma on that job in particular was really good at mentoring me about how to be in the art department essentially, and showing the ropes. And there'd be lots of ones when, you know, I'd be bringing the tea and she'd get me to sit down and talk about what she was doing that day, or, you know, latest reference or research that was going on. And then Tina Jones, who took me on to the next job after King Arthur, like with Alina, I just really admired her leadership skills. You know, she never blew her lid. There was never problems. There was just, okay, you've got to find a new solution. And the way she interacts with all the different departments, I found really inspiring. And I loved how Gemma and Tina worked together on King Arthur and on Aladdin. Actually, it just felt like the set deck and art departments were really fluid, and you know, there wasn't, sometimes in some jobs you can get not so much, maybe not separatism, but like, you know, sort of feel like they're two different departments, but on their occasions they sort of felt like one big machine, sort of harmonious.
Okay, and Heather, who have your influences been so far?
Well, I'll second what everyone said about Neil Lamont. He's just incredibly supportive, and that's a great force to have behind you. Excuse the pun. But I've worked with some really outstanding people, and I'm not going to try and name too many, but I've taken, like Alina, I've taken a little bit from everybody really, and seen a lot of different styles of management and styles of organising, and each one has its place, I think, so I've taken a little bit from each. I was really inspired by Sarah Greenwood, actually, on Beauty and the Beast. She and Katie Spencer, her set deck, are lovely people, and the level of creativity and invention that was coming out of their office with every piece of concept art floating past my desk, I just thought it was incredible, and it was a really, really nice job to work on. Great supervising art director, lovely art director. So yeah, thanks, Sarah.
Yeah, I think I saw, I've seen some of the artwork from her jobs, and it's quite incredible. And if I could throw this question out to everyone, and feel free to talk across each other. What would you say to people looking to get into the art department now? I'll throw that out to everyone.
It's never too late, and knock on every door, because the worst thing that can happen is they won't open it, but if you don't knock, it won't open anyway. So
yeah, do your research, see who you'd like to work for, you know, find out the best way to contact them, and as Alina says, you know, the worst thing they could do is say no.
Yes, I would say, sorry, I would say try and learn from every experience, like good or bad, and try and use the criticism that you get at interviews and portfolio surgeries. Never take it personal, but always take it serious, because these people make time to see you and look through your work actually, and they want to help you. So use that as an opportunity, and enjoy, and don't be afraid of the challenge.
Yeah, and I was going to say, don't discount your previous experience. If you're not coming direct, don't discount what you've got, even if it's different to what everyone else is bringing. And in fact, I would say if you can get some experience of other departments in the film industry while you're still kind of runner level, because it all dovetails in as you climb the ladder. You need to know a little bit about what lighting is doing, a little bit about what the camera is doing. So if the only runner job going is, you know, on the floor or in special effects, take it and learn the departments.
Yeah, the first job that I got, a few people turned it down because the money wasn't very good. But it was working with Stuart Craig. So I thought, even though I was very poor at the time, and I had to take a pay cut to take the job, I just thought it was a no-brainer because it was such valuable experience that the money didn't matter. It didn't matter that it was a little bit lower than the other jobs that were around. It was a way in, and it was a, you know, best thing I ever did. You know, I think what you're saying is right. You know, you can. I never would have thought, you know, when I was reading through H.R. Giger's book about Alien and working on a Ridley Scott film, I thought I'd never get to do that, and I have got to do that. And so I think people coming in shouldn't be afraid of like I think Helen was saying, look at who you want to work with and not be afraid of aiming for that. And because you might just get there, you never know. You might end up working with those people. If not on the first job, then you know, subsequently you might find that you're able to do that. So is there anything more that the Guild could be doing for newer members coming in who are just starting out? I mean, I know you're at varying stages, and some of you are some way down the road, but for the newer people coming in who may be thinking of joining the Guild or becoming an affiliate or joining the industry generally, what advice would you give them?
Well, I would say, I find personally, the portfolio surgeries and the events great. It's just people just have to go there and actually speak to people. Just don't be afraid to just go to these events. I didn't know anyone at my first meeting, and I thought, or event, and I thought I was just going to stand in the corner and not talking to anyone, just wasting my time. But it's just, you just have to go. People will talk to you. Someone will recognize you're alone. Someone will ask you who you are. So I think it's just because a lot of younger people, like me included, they just take some time to warm up a little bit. I think all the events are just always helpful. Just people need to go. So I feel like the surgeries and the question and answering events that I've attended to, they were amazing to just get to chat to people. Just younger people just need to take the opportunity.
Yeah, and I mean, not just the Guild, but any networking event is anything where other people are going to be there. Is worth going to. And is there anything more that the Guild in particular could be doing and isn't doing, or anything you can think of that we should be aiming at?
Well, I was gonna, I think, following on from what Anne said, I think the Guild is doing really great things for newcomers to the industry in terms of training, networking and exposure with the events it's doing now. We may already be doing this, but what concerns me is that there are undoubtedly really talented people wanting to join the industry, but they don't live in the London area and they don't have an awful lot of family wealth. And so there will be people who struggle to pay for transport to a portfolio surgery, or who struggle to pay for accommodation to do 2 weeks work experience. So it would be great if the Guild kind of, I know we're doing a lot on diversity, but if we could incorporate class diversity into that by perhaps, if we've got the money, offering travel bursaries or getting a sponsorship deal with local B&Bs like the Bridgeton Guest House so that accommodation is cheaper, or even a kind of a spare room network. You know, I have a spare room. So if someone's having to turn down a big opportunity because they can't afford to put themselves up, then I'll be on the list, you know, for that sort of thing.
no, it's a good thought. I mean, there have been some things coming up recently that we've looked at to do with, you know, pipelines into the industry and offering some free membership to begin with to some students from universities and colleges that and we're sort of leaving it to their discretion as to who that might be, but it is something that has come up. We're looking at that. Yeah, and they're very good points you brought up. If it's something, I've been on the committee for a while and just stepped down as chairman and handed over now to Sonia Klaus. But it is something that it's good to hear that. It's good to hear new ideas about more things the Guild could be doing. And I think if I was saying anything to members who are watching, you know, do come along, feel like you can come along to a committee and you can raise this or write in, you can write in and you can say what you think should be happening. So I think that is a very good point, that with the whole discussion about diversity, it's not just any one thing. It's not just gender, it's not just race, it's not just neural diversity, it's not just poverty versus wealth, it's all those things. It's we've got to be looking at everything, you know, in terms of trying to make sure that if people want to come into the industry that they're able to do so. And it was one of the reasons why originally the whole affiliate idea started up. It was, you know, fairly cheap membership.
Yeah.
You know, way into the Guild, and I think it has made it more accessible.
It's made a big difference.
It's definitely encouraged me more to join.
But it is. I think the people on the committee, like myself, it is purely voluntary, but anyone can be on it. You know, and Anne is now secretary, which is absolutely fantastic. You know, so it's something that's open to anyone to contribute, and so it's good to hear new ideas about things. Is there anything else that anyone's got that they want to say about things we could be doing?
I just wonder that maybe due to the current climate as well, but that would also result with the transportation, if there might be a Zoom portfolio, like, because if you share your screen, you know, you can still draw that could give some sort of like that each person gets, I don't know, 15 minutes or 10 minutes, and then the breakout rooms change.
Yeah, it's I've done one myself fairly recently, so that is happening. We probably need to look at doing some more of those, I think. We've been, during the whole lockdown thing, we've been pretty occupied with the program of webinars, because it is it's still a very small team operating the Guild, and even though we're quite a large organisation now, so we've been fully occupied with that. But yes, that is possible, because I know, because I've done one, and yeah, that's a very good idea, and we'll continue to do those. And yeah, things being what they are, they probably will be virtual. They'll probably be via Zoom, and you can share screens and things, so it's all perfectly doable.
I thought one thing that could also maybe be helpful for those that start off, the same way as we have a rate card which says, you know, if you're in this position, you should be earning this. I wonder if it could be a little bit helpful to have some sort of like cheat sheet of, at this stage, if you're a junior, you should manage to do a drawing within, I don't know, 2-3 days that looks like this, or some sort of. I felt that in the beginning of my career, and I think other people struggle with it too, is that I often hear that, like, you feel that you're too slow because you don't know what should you be at your level. Yes. How fast should you be drawing, and what level of drawing are required. So it would be just nice to see, I don't know, some sort of examples with times and just positions.
Yeah, it's a good idea. I mean, you know, as a supervising art director, I'd rather have a good drawing than than the one that's super quick, and but it's, you know, it's not, you know, it's not a good drawing. So I'd always rather wait a little bit to get something worthwhile. So I don't mind things taking a little. And yeah, I think you're right though. It would be good to give, particularly people who've not done any jobs at all, it would be good to give them an idea. You know, is it supposed to take 3 weeks? Or am I supposed to be finished in an hour? You know, yeah, because people don't know. You know, if they're not told when they're given the drawing, you know, roughly how long. You know, I think it's, to a certain extent, it is managed by the art director, because there's when you give out a drawing, you kind of know how long that person's going to take, and so if it's something urgent, you give it to your fastest, most experienced person. But if it's something that just needs doing, but it's not so time dependent, then you can. So hopefully that would happen to a certain extent naturally. But yes, it is something we could look at to maybe put on the website as a couple of examples of drawings. That would, yeah. If anybody wants to contribute any of their drawings, then that would be very welcome. I'm sure they'd be very welcome. So Helen, do you think the Guild could be doing anything else for newer members?
Nothing more that's already been said, especially what Heather said about sort of financial support for you know, people that want to do their work experience or what have you, you know, but may not have the means to do so.
Yeah, no, it's a very good point.
That's the one that sort of struck home for me anyway.
Yeah, when I started working, I was pretty desperately poor for a long time, and it's not so, there is something that has changed a little bit, that some people coming in have a little bit of money behind them, and things have changed so much, you know, with cost of living and stuff, that I mean, it was expensive back then, but yeah, I know what it's like to, you know, to start out and you haven't got very much money. So it is a good point. You know, it's something we should put to the committee. So lastly, I think, because we're kind of coming to the end of the time, what have you all been doing over lockdown when you couldn't work? So Heather, what did you do?
Well, I went into lockdown with a very long list of jobs, and none of them have got done. The DIY remains untouched. I spent a lot of time listening or buying into online training, online podcasts, webinars, both art department and across the industry, actually, and it's really kind of broadened my appreciation. But everything got pushed to the side because I managed to get my hands on a virtual reality headset halfway through lockdown. So I've been diving into Unreal Engine, getting my sets into virtual reality so I can walk around them, and also getting prepped up for virtual production, which I think is a bit unavoidable. So I don't think we need to know how to do it, but I think we need to have maybe an awareness of it, and I went to visit a facility and kind of wrapped my head around it a little bit more than I had previously. So that was really useful.
Very good. So do you mean, you know, producing a 3D asset that would be good enough to be part of a film? Is that the kind of
it's the Mandalorian approach to filmmaking, where instead of perhaps building all of the set, you're only building the foreground elements, and then the remainder is a 3D digital asset, which is projected onto kind of wraparound LED screens. And the technology is so advanced now that it will move, the image on the screen will move with the camera, so the perspective remains good enough to cheat the viewer. And it's pretty straightforward for art departments, from what I can tell. You know, you can take a SketchUp model and get it into Unreal Engine, which is the kind of the transport for it, if you like, without doing much to it. And then there are some very clever people that light it perfectly and texture it perfectly, and, you know, make sure all the things that should move or shouldn't move or do exactly what they're supposed to do. But for
Yeah.
art department, it's really just passing over the information in an Unreal Engine format, ideally. So, yeah, it seems accessible, but sorry.
Yes, I saw a demonstration of it about a week ago, and I'm going again tomorrow, actually. So, yes, it is something we should all be aware of. Alina, what did you do over the lockdown period?
I watched all the free Vectorworks webinars that were available in May, and I had the grand thought of going through the 360 hours available and memorizing them. That didn't happen. I did a lot of DIY. I'm learning how to break dance over Zoom, and I spent a lot of time in the sun because I thought, when I go back to work, what will I miss the most? And I think it's just being able to be outside.
Good idea. Yeah. Anne, what did you do?
Well, I tried to just wind myself down, which was a little bit weird because we were like on full speed right before lockdown. So it took me like 2 or 3 weeks not to feel guilty to not do anything at home, actually. And on the other hand, I tried to keep myself busy with a routine. So I just, even though gyms were closed, I just did home workout like every day with a different thing. Not every day, but like with a different thing. And then I, because that's physical, but you also want to have your brain a little bit at work, I did some tutorials as well. I did an online course for digital painting with like a whacking board and all that stuff, but like no pressure on myself, which was good because you didn't know how long this lockdown would last. You had no idea, 4 months, 3 months, 6, you had no idea. So it was just a little bit of a routine to not go crazy or get bored, but also like Alina, just use the time because it was summer, it's nice outside, visit my family, because when do you get the chance again? You never know.
And Helen, what did you do over lockdown?
Well, the initial wind down and postponing my wedding twice. I was meant to get married in April, and that's obviously pushed to next year. Sort of very similar to what everyone else said, sort of mix of podcasts, tutorials. I learnt Rhino on quite a steep learning curve, and I was fairly confident with it, but I wanted to get into some more advanced modelling, which I've been really enjoying. And then, seeing family, fitness to try and keep some structure in the day. I just kind of enjoying being at home for longer than a weekend and making it more of a home.
Brilliant. Okay.
What about you, Adam?
Well, I built a tree house.
Excellent.
And I became an NHS responder, and I did a bit of delivery of personal protective equipment on my motorcycle, and tried to stay fit, tried to stay outside a little bit and enjoy things as much as possible, and spent time with the family. So it's been pretty nice, actually, in a way. I mean, under the circumstances. Obviously it's not a good time for a lot of people, but so that was my kind of lockdown experience. So, well, thank you very much, everyone. We're kind of out of time, really. Is there anything anyone wants to add before we completely wrap it up? No. Okay. Well, thank you very much, and thanks for contributing to the guild and to the series of webinars and giving up your time. It's really appreciate it. So thank you very much. And so I've just got to say, more information about the British Film Designers Guild, including membership, can be found at britishfilmdesigners.com. So there you are. Thanks very much, everyone, and I'll see some of you, hopefully all of you, very soon. So,
Thanks, Adam.
thanks very much.
Thank you, Adam.
Bye.
Cheerio.